Joining me over the phone today, he is an author. He has a really sick horror thriller series. And also, obviously, the next book is coming out. It's called Sinner's Past. It is S.S. Fitzgerald. Sean, thanks so much for joining me here on the Zach Feldman Show. How's everything going?
Hey, Zach, thank you so much for having me. Everything's going great, and I'm really excited to get this story out to y'all.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear all about this kind of horror film in a sense could turn into a book. Tell me about kind of what this series first off is all about.
Yeah, so the series is primarily a single novel with three spin offs that lead up to the novel itself. Uh, the short stories are all free on my website, and the novel itself focuses on a father who receives a cryptic message from his son, who he had sent to live with his parents for the summer. Going back to his childhood, he realizes that he's forgotten so much about this childhood home that he has to now go back to. And once he gets there, he becomes trapped, not just physically, but mentally, in all the evil undoings that have happened within the town. And as he journeys through trying to find his son, he starts uncovering problems not just within the town and the folks that are living there, but his own family's morbid history that's tied to the history of the little town.
Jeez. So like, I mean, it's just a psychological, mind fuck then the entire time.
Absolutely. I would say that if you have any friends out there that are big fans of Silent Hill, they're probably going to be right at home with this type of horror. Fans of, I hate to drop the big names, but like
Mhm.
are also going to be very at home with it.
That's awesome. Where did your passion for this type of writing come from? I mean, you know, you've written stories like all the time. But thriller and science fiction and horror is kind of your forte. But where did that come from? Where did that passion come from?
I've always wanted to be a writer. Since I was a kid, I experimented with trying to write. And after my military service, I just sat down and said, I either have to do it or I'm never going to. So I wrote a bunch of stories that I never published, and I was just trying to figure out what my voice was and where I succeeded and where I failed. And I found that the visceral side of it is where I stood out. So I said, hey, this is perfect. I mean, there's an entire genre that's dedicated to it, and that's horror. So I just focused my writing in on that.
And definitely it was a smart decision because I mean it's gotten so much popularity. But I also am interested too in the fact that you don't really kind of sell these stories. You kind of throw them out there for anybody to read in a sense. Are you are you ever going to want to market off that? Do you ever want to like kind of make a good dollar off that?
Yeah, I think that these novels that I'm coming out with is my forte into that.
Mhm.
I write the free stories and put them out there so that fans that find the novel, they can go back and say, I want more of this, and be happy to find out, hey, I'm missing a bunch of lore, and they can get really invested in that side of it.
Well, shit, that's a great marketing tactic.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the funnest parts of all these large series that are out there is when fans start finding out that there's a lot more in depth information other than just like the first media that they find.
I mean, you have also multiple universes when it comes to this type of genre too. You've Hunted, it was a Hero's Downfall was another one, the Offering, and then obviously Sinner's Pass, which is coming out and at the end of this month. Whenever another book for yours comes out, I mean, what goes through your mind? Are you just excited about it, or just are you always just thinking about the next thing?
You know, I've been done with Center's Pass, honestly, since February, and I've just been trying to make sure it's perfect and getting it ready for the audience. And I was excited to release it back in like June. I was like, I'm ready for this. And at this point, it's it's so ready to come out that I'm already three halves through another series, and I'm getting ready for that launch. So my mind's been kind of distracted by that. But as September gets going here, I'm just more excited now about Center's Pass again, and I can't wait for more people because if you haven't already seen it, the first readers have already left reviews out on Goodreads for
Mhm.
Center's Pass, and they're all absolutely phenomenal. I'm excited that other people are going to be able to experience that.
Yeah, and get that second taste of it, I guess, in a sense. I mean, how hard is it for those who, are just listening in and they want to kind of get into your realm? Where should they start? What book series do you suggest? Where do they go?
Yeah, if somebody is like, hey, I heard about this guy, I would say just start my website. I have a ton of free stories that I just post right out there on my blog. And I do already have a existing sci-fi horror story out there called A Fold to Extinction, completely separate. You can start with the short stories that lead into that and jump right into the novel, or you can jump right into the very first one for Sinner's Pass, which is, as you said, Hunted. And Hunted even had a live reading done by a horror group called the Lunatics Radio, and you can go through those three short stories and get right into Sinner's Pass. Either way, I think you'll find that there's plenty of depravity to discover.
What is your favorite horror film? Like, what's your favorite kind of genre of horror?
I have this. Oh, it's so hard. I have this giant soft spot for sci-fi horror specifically. Shocker, right? Uh, and if you had to make me pick between two, it's a really hard pick between either the 1979 Alien or It. And or
Yeah.
actually, I said It. I mean the Thing. So those two movies, when it comes to horror and sci-fi, they clash so perfectly into like I can believe that that's a thing in reality, and they do so well developing the characters. Nobody really cares about the monster necessarily, but how the characters respond to the monster. And I think like McReady in The Thing, he was a phenomenal character. And then obviously Ripley from Alien,
Mhm.
everybody just fell in love with that character.
See, I think I'm screwed because I'm a big fan of the Clowns from Outer Space, and that was like, I guess if we were talking sci-fi horror, I mean that's just a classic, but it's also just like so stupid at the same time. So
Yeah,
it's a mix of the two. But I mean obviously, Scream is my forte to go to for anything.
it's great that you mentioned Scream because in Sinner's Pass, giving you a little bit of a sneak peek into it, there's absolutely a supernatural element to it, but a lot of it revolves around evil acts within a singular individual that is central to the book. And if you're into that type of serial killer like taunting a community, there's a little bit of that in Sinner's Pass for you.
Where do you see kind of this going? I mean, obviously you're a huge writer. You've been writing for a long time, but what's next? What's like the next jump for you?
I think the next jump is creating a continuous series of books that are all interrelated. I mentioned A Fold to Extinction before. It's not related to Sinner's Pass, and then
Mhm.
I have Sinner's Pass that has three short stories that lead up to it. I think the next step is just making the continuity between multiple books, and I'm currently doing that. And it is a much larger undertaking than just writing a standalone novel.
That's awesome. And something I also have to mention because I have to because when I was doing my research on you, I found it and I'm just like, wait a minute, this is a guy who writes horror. This is a guy who writes about bloody, who writes about the extraterrestrial stuff. But then all of a sudden he's writing about exercise and trying to sharpen your mind. What's going on there? Because there's a book
Yeah,
called Exercise Log that you've created as well.
yeah. The exercise log is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a booklet that you can purchase off Amazon that helps you keep track of your daily progress, any type of exercises from uh, mixed martial arts down to just weightlifting, or if you're a big cardio person running out there. Uh, and I don't think that it's right for anybody to get sucked into just one thing, right? I think you want to be a well-rounded person.
Of
So,
course.
yeah, exercise is a big part of my life, and I encourage anybody out there to, find out what the limit is of both your mind and body.
Hell yeah. And I guess it's a good thing because, obviously all this killing and all this this horror is definitely something that you need to step back from for a minute.
Yeah, you got to make sure your cardio is high in case the zombies come.
Yeah, exactly. That was very important when it was Shaun of the Dead anyway, so that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um Sean, I want to ask you too, what is like, what is next for you? We've written the book, we're getting the book out there on the 30th. But after the book's released, what's your next plan?
Okay, I don't think it's appropriate for me to say to sit back and have a cigar and a cocktail. So,
I mean,
the
you
right,
should totally. I mean, you've written like 4 or 5 different series already, and now you're kind of living it now.
yeah, I have to keep the momentum going. So right after that, in the Tallahassee area, I'll be having a book signing, and I'll be publishing that location once everything's solidified. It's going to be early October.
Ooh,
Um,
nice.
and then right after that, I have to start hitting the pavement with my next book series. I have my notes from my editor on the first book, and I got to get the second book to her so that I can start having that series come out. I would hate to have my audience out there waiting in between books. So I don't want to pull a, long wait for everybody.
Any relation to F. Scott Fitzgerald?
You're the first person to surprisingly ask me that. And
what?
No,
How am I the first person? That doesn't make any sense.
That's immediately what I was worried about when I was like, oh, should I write under my own name? Everybody's going to think I'm related to F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I've been asked if I was related to Ella Fitzgerald, which is hilarious to me because you can hear my voice. I'm not a singer whatsoever. But no relation whatsoever. And unfortunately, if you just type in SS Fitzgerald, sometimes you find the ship and you don't find me sometimes. I think that's also kind of funny.
It's the Fitzgerald legacy. It's fine. You're following the way of the Fitzgerald legacy. That's what I say.
Slightly different type of horror, though. Not getting the love of your life and getting viscerally torn apart by a monster. We'll go with it.
It's a little different, but it's okay. I think he'd be proud, though. Sean Fitzgerald. Again, the book is called Sinner's Past. It releases on September 30th. But for those who want to pre-order the book, where can they go?
They can go to Amazon, and you'll be able to pre-order either the hardcover or the Kindle. And if you are just die hard for that paperback, it'll be available on September 30th as well.
Oh, awesome. That's fantastic. Well, you can also find him as SS Fitzgerald on Amazon, too. Again, the book called Sinner's Past. Sean, thanks again for joining me here on the Zach Feldman Show, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much.